I'm going to teach you how to take this moment right now that comes around once a year. It's the fall, and tap into the natural momentum, productivity, organization that's all around you. Don't worry. By the time you're done listening, you're going to know exactly what I'm talking about. You're going to know I am right and that this is true at a cellular level, because there are 4 reasons why change is easier in September than any other time of the year. And in fact, it's not only just easier in September. Holy cow, what you do in September like turns into this momentum that's carried through the fall. And you got to know this so you can use it to your advantage. Because once you learn what you're going to learn today, you're going to realize, well, that would be stupid for me not to get serious right now about putting myself first and focusing on my goals. That would be kind of dumb not to use this season to my advantage. One of the things that I love about the topic that you and I are talking about today is that everything that you and I are going to talk about today, you already know is true. And so you're going to leave this conversation not only feeling empowered and not only knowing how to use this time of year to your advantage, but you're going to feel like smarty pants over there. And you're also going to know how to activate that wisdom. And that brings me to the very first reason that September is the true season of change for everyone. January may get all the fanfare and the parties and the planners and all that stuff. Let's just level with each other. January is just when the calendar changes. September is when life changes. Just think about that for a minute. Everything about life changes when September hits. You go from summer to fall. That's a change. The leaves turn from green to orange and yellow and brown and all kinds of amazing colors. That's a change. The seasons can go from hot to colder, or if you're in a different part of the world as you're listening, colder to hot. That's a change. You go from a break to back to school. That's a change. Unlike January, September is not just a date on the calendar. And that's one of the reasons why this is such an enormous moment for change. And it's why I want you to start to look at September and the fall season almost like a bigger moment than January. And I'm going to explain more about why this matters for productivity and why it matters for momentum and how we're going to use this to our advantage in just a minute. But before I do that, I really want to stop and unpack the difference between September and January as a time of year. And I want to talk about what January is great for, but also why it's not great for productivity and for really making change stick. So January is this massive change in the calendar, right? You go from one year ending to a whole new year beginning. It is this massive clean slate moment. I love January 1. Why? Because all of a sudden you get handed this blank slate. And January 1 has this massive psychological benefit that happens in your mind. It's called a temporal landmark. That's just a fancy way to say something that you've experienced, which is boom, calendar changes from one year to the next. You're on day 1 of a whole new year. You psychologically feel open to dreaming, don't you? You feel open to looking at the whole year. You see this vast open space. And it's really important for you every single year to take advantage of this temporal landmark, this psychological vast space, this clean slate that you feel. And every single January, you should hit the pause button. You should take an audit of where you are in life. And then you should look forward after that audit. And you should allow yourself to dream big. And that's what you and I do every January. In fact, on this podcast, every single January, you and I walk through the process of completing last year and then taking the time to envision what does the next year or 5 years or 10 years of your life look like. January allows you to dream. And that is critical for you living a great life. But dreaming, it's really different than doing. And making a plan based on that dream, that's very different than being productive as you execute on those plans. And that, my friend, is where September comes in. September is the season for momentum and productivity. September is the season where everything around you is changing. And that's why you're going to use it to your advantage. I don't want to diss January. I love January. Yes, let's take January seriously. And let's use January to create a blank slate and to dream big again and to lift our heads up and to look ahead. But there are 4 reasons why January isn't that great of a time of year for you to be your most productive. Number 1, you're exhausted from the holidays. Number 2, you just blew all your money on presents for other people, so you don't really have that to invest back into yourself. Number 3, if you live in a colder climate like I do, you're in a cold climate, which means you just want to stay indoors, which is not that great for being productive. And while we're on the topic of colder climates, can we talk about the fact that in December, the days get darker and seasonal depression kicks in? And what saves you from those dark days and that cold climate and the fact that you're exhausted and you're out of money is big dreams. That's why you need to do it in January. Those big dreams give you something to look forward to. They give you something to work toward. And so if you're thinking about long-term goals and framing those goals, I want you to think of January, because January is all about expansion. But the truth is, only about 10% of New Year's resolutions succeed. And I think after you really hear me make the case about September and the fall being a season of the year to really learn how to use to your advantage, you're going to understand why so many resolutions fail. They fail because it's a lot of work to make change stick. And that brings me to September. See, September is not about your dreams. September is not about the big stuff. September is about buckling down and getting serious and motivated and determined about the little stuff while you still have time this year. And I'm a huge fan of January. I just think you got to understand the greater context. And just so you know that I'm not really against January, let's throw in the other seasons in the context of productivity. Let's take spring. I love spring. I love a good spring cleaning. But here's the truth. By the time I do that little boop burst, right? And I get out of the winter, push through. It's now burst of spring, and I've cleaned out the closet, and I've cleaned out the garden beds, and I've wiped all the pollen off of everything. I'm freaking exhausted. I don't have any more energy or productivity or momentum. Now I'm focused on, let's just get through the spring. Let's get ourselves to summer. Let's get done with school. Let's wrap up these projects, and let's get to summer. Am I right? Of course I'm right. You felt this exact same thing. Now let's talk about summer. Summer is terrible for productivity. Why? Your schedule is all over the place. People are taking vacation. You want to be at the beach. You don't want to be banging out some project that you have to focus on. You don't want to be getting stuff done. You want to be relaxing. You want to be seeing family. And plus, even if you're not on vacation, your friends or your family or your kids are on vacation. And so what does that mean? It means the schedule is off. The rhythm of your weeks are off. And the thing about productivity is it's not about sprints. Productivity is about small, consistent moves over time. And one of the things that helps you be productive is when you are in a rhythm that is consistent. And in the summer, all bets are off. Work schedule's changed. You got long weekends. The sun is out, so you want to be at barbecues. And have you also noticed that your town is now doing all kinds of programming, and there are festivals and there are things to do, and you want to be outside. And so you should be focused on relaxing and restoring yourself and getting outside and taking your foot off the gas, which naturally brings me right back to the fall. Bada bing, bada boom. I'm making my case, aren't I? Because as you're putting your shorts away and the jeans are coming out and you're putting the tank tops in the bottom drawer and the sweaters and the puffer jackets are now here, holy cow, you're ready for a change. And even if you live in a place where there are not 4 seasons, the weather does kind of change, doesn't it? Of course it does. You feel naturally more motivated in the fall than you do in the depths of winter when you're hunkered down. You feel naturally more focused and motivated in the fall than when you do in the summer when the schedule is more carefree. And so I want you to know that one of the greatest reasons why you should welcome September and the fall season with open arms is because this is the season where the wind is at your back and it is in your sails. It is time to go for it. Fall is selfish time. Fall is go time. Fall is about you. So grab your pumpkin spice latte and your sweater and your new notebooks and let's get busy because you are primed to be productive. You're coming off of summer, which means I hope you're rested and you're refreshed. And even if you aren't, you got outside more than you do normally because the weather's nice and the sun is out and the days are long. And so you got that vitamin D in you and you are now ready. Ready for what? Ready to do something. So to sum it up, reason number one for why September and the whole season of fall is the true change of seasons for everyone. It's when life changes. That is the reason why you feel ready to change too. Fall is selfish time. Fall is go time. Fall is about you. So grab your pumpkin spice latte and your sweater and your new notebooks and let's get busy. The truth is, only about 10% of New Year's resolutions succeed. January is just when the calendar changes. September is when life changes.